Well, welcome to another episode of The Pursuit, and I'm here with Pastor Harper, and we are ready to get started with an icebreaker. Now, normally what we do is we have an icebreaker out, we kind of surprise each other with it, so our responses on camera are genuine. But for today, we had to do some research, because what we'd like for our groups to do is to Google the top 100 or the top Billboard 100 song the year you graduated high school, that number one song, and then share that as a group. And as we were doing the research, Harper and I realized that we have quite a gulf between when I graduated high school and when you graduated high school. Quite a while.
There's some years there.
There's some years there, actually. And I remember you graduating high school, and I don't know the song that is on your list.
Okay,
but here we go.
Good.
So we're going to start us
I
off.
don't know yours either, so
Right.
to be fair.
Yes, you do. I graduated in 1995, right in that Gen X moment. And and the number one song in 1995 was Gangsta's, to be phonetically accurate, Gangsta's Paradise by Coolio, and featuring, I didn't even know this guy was in here, LV, or that could be the Roman numeral.
That's right.
This could be 55.
That's right. Could be. My number one song when I graduated, which was 2009.
Right, last week.
It was Boom Boom Pow by Black Eyed Peas. So
Never heard of that, honestly. Have you heard of it?
Yes.
You have?
Yeah, the song.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
You went to a Christian school. I thought you were saved. All right. Well, take some time right now with your group to really get vulnerable here and share, first of all, how long it's been since you graduated high school, and to share the top 100 Billboard song of that year. I don't suggest Spotify playing these at all, but have some fun with this.
Yeah. This week, Pastor Kivett's talking about lust. And as we go through the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus addresses this issue and talks again, like we talked about last week. This is what you've heard, and now this is what I'm saying. It's not as canceling out what was said before, but clarifying and further explaining exactly what he's talking about here. So here he talks about, you've heard it said that you shall not commit adultery. And there are several passages where we go back in the Old Testament and we can see this practiced. But then what Jesus says is, I say to you that everyone who looks at a woman with lustful intent has already committed adultery with her in his heart. And so what we want to ask your small group just to kind of discuss here is, what is the difference between the Old Testament teaching and what Jesus is teaching here? Kind of what are those differences in between there? Again, as we looked at last week a little bit, it's more of the Pharisees trying to control the outward actions instead of the inward heart. And what we understand is there's a deeper issue than just controlling actions. You can make it seem like on the outside that everything's fine, everything's good, but still there's a heart issue, and that's what Jesus is more concerned about. So take some time right now, talk about this with your group. What are the differences between the Old Testament teaching here and what Jesus is trying to get to in the New Testament?
Well, continuing in Pastor Kivett's sermon, he gave us some ways that we could stay pure. He talked about that in his sermon. And one of the ways is simply run. And it's the idea of doing what it takes to avoid giving in, to avoid those temptations. I've commonly used the word like guardrails, where if you're driving on the highway, there's guardrails up on the road, yet you might go off and veer off, but these guardrails are going to keep you safe so that you don't do more damage. And so what I thought we could do, and this is a vulnerable time with your group, is to discuss what are some guardrails that you put up. And to give you an idea, we commonly hear one called the Billy Graham rule, where you have men and even women who will say that they aren't they're not with a member of the opposite sex, that's not their spouse or a family member by themselves. Right. And so that could be considered a guardrail and things like that. So take some time right now with your group to discuss what are some guardrails that have been beneficial and have worked for you.
And one of the other points of how we can stay pure, Pastor Kivett talked about weigh the consequences. And he shared with us kind of how he has a list. He's taken time to intentionally think about and even write down kind of what these consequences are for himself. And so we wanted to ask y'all, again, being very vulnerable and open with each other, just sharing what some of those consequences could be, whether it's for you or just in general. What are the consequences of giving into lust? And what does that look like for people? Different jobs or different family dynamics, what does that look like? What could some of those consequences be?
Well, thank you for joining us on another episode of The Pursuit. As we like to say, you can always watch previous episodes of The Pursuit by clicking the link that's provided on your screen.
Yeah, and don't miss any of the sermon videos. Go back and watch those, especially in our series, Sermon on the Mount. And you can click to subscribe so you get these videos automatically. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. I don't think I've heard that one.
You haven't heard Gangsta's Paradise? Been spending most of our lives living in a gangster's paradise. You're welcome for that one.